All right, well, Happy New Year, Boss Babes. It is January the 5th, 2020, the year of plenty. We heard that this weekend. You write that down. 2020, the year of plenty, the decade of plenty. I even like that better. So we are pretty pumped up. The Georgia girls, we all went to Peachtree City, Georgia for a January Jumpstart with NSD Cheryl Fulcher put it on. And then she had Dorothy Boyd, National Celebrator Dorothy Boyd, and they invited me to come on as like the guest top director speaker, which was really a big fat privilege, and I just loved it. And so I got to show you what Dorothy Boyd gave me. Okay, this is what the directors, the national suits came in. They always give them a really pretty suit cover, whatever you want to call it, hanging bag, and this says NSD, and it had Sheeta, and she said, I had to give it to you. I'm like, I love this so much. So I might have to just hang it in the office. I should just hang it, behind me during the Boss Babe calls. That's what I'll do. I won't do it right now because that wouldn't be the best view for y'all to have to see for a few minutes. So next week. But anyway, we had a wonderful time. There's about 200 or more people there. I know they sold out. It was absolutely full, and it was really nice. We went and they had a director's meeting, which is, I'm going to share a little bit from that with everybody. They had a director's meeting on Friday, and then they had the Jumpstart on Saturday from 8:30 to 4:30. And then I know Janet and Rosie also went to one in Kansas City, and so they're going to be sharing a little bit about theirs. And we've got Maud Johnson that's on tonight, and Valerie Ray are going to share a little bit. They went to the one that I went to, and let me see if any of the other ones have jumped on here yet. Okay, I don't see them. So we're going to kick it off. Maud Johnson is a consultant in Selah Love's unit, and she and Selah and Peoples rode with me to Atlanta. So we had a little 3.5, 4-hour road trip. We had a great time. And so I'm going to let Maud start first, and I just told them to share just anything that moved them from the event. It could have been a class, it could just been the overall feeling, something from their notes. So you guys that if you haven't gone to Jumpstart yet or you were not able to go, you can take some notes. Now, I want to tell you this, that between now and next week, if you follow me on YouTube, I actually did a video of all the main speakers, and I am going to put them on YouTube on the Cletus Cheetahs playlist. And so I've already started downloading those. It's going to take just a little bit of time, but come back this week and you can check that playlist and you can see all of the speeches. One of them was really good by this gal named Ginger Noel. It's a short little speech, but it was about social media. I thought she was so good. But anyway, we're going to share a little bit about tonight, but then if y'all care to go watch some of them, I think it'd really be valuable to you. So I'm going to unmute Miss Maud Johnson. So Maud, you are unmuted.
Good evening.
Let you talk for a few minutes, okay?
Thank you so much. It's a privilege for me to be able to speak to you this evening about January Jumpstart. You know, anytime we go to a special event, a meeting of any kind, we always learn. And one of the things that impacted me was the fact that I thought about the fact that when I go to a meeting, I'm always pumped up and ready. But that meeting has to do with where I am, where I am in my walk with the Lord, where I am in my business. From that place, the meaningfulness of the meeting gets its resonance in my heart. And so I was so very thankful for the opportunity to experience this meeting. I thought it was a wonderful meeting. And Cheryl spoke with us, and then she had Cleta to speak with us, and I always enjoy her presentations to us because they're always so personal and down to earth and funny. So I enjoyed them very much. One of the things that they shared in the meeting, that of those who were car earners in the meeting, there were 289 cars won among the ladies who were attending that particular meeting. And so we were impressed to go ahead, get a car, get your work done and get a car. The words that really spoke to me were passion, determination, integrity, courage, compassion. These are the inner strengths from which we really fight and work hard. And also the bottom layer of our prayer life is from the point of the passion and determination that we have, because we know that without him, we can do nothing. And they mentioned the words again, one woman can, and that really spoke to me again. One woman can. I can do what I am designated to do. And so that's the part from which I have to really work, is that I'm not doing everybody else's work. I'm doing the work that I believe that the Lord has given to me to do. And so one woman can. I can, in him, do that work. One of the things that was mentioned as Cleta was speaking to us, and that was, if a woman seems very interested in being a part of Mary Kay, and then the next time you speak with her, she says, but not right now. I don't want to do it right now. One of the things that was pointed out is it is usually because of a lack of funds that that woman does not follow through, especially if she has shown a great interest in being a part of Mary Kay. It's usually the lack of funds. And if we could help sense that, and then help that woman as best we possibly can to realize that for her life. Another two things also said is, don't judge people, and then don't give up on people. And I thought that was so important to me, because I was getting ready to delete names from my list. I said, when I go back, I'm going to just delete. But there would be some women that I know that I would be judging and giving up on if I did that. And so they're safe for right now. The other comments that were made was, don't underestimate the value of a single event. You know, I won't go to that meeting tonight. I won't go to the meeting tonight. I have something else to do. And they're just going to say the same things. But the point that I get was, but you're not at the same place. You can hear the same thing said, but be a different place in your life, and it'll mean something so very different. And so how important it is to attend those events. As Cleta says, show up to what? You got it. Keeping great records. That was also emphasized in the speaking that was done. You have to keep track of what your expectations are. And so if you don't keep track, you never know whether or not you've met those expectations that you had wanted. Just last thing, Dorothy Boyd was very good. And she spoke to us also personally about her life and the experience of joy. Dorothy said that in her life, she was experiencing a lack of joy, real joy in her life. And so she began to journal, she began to pray and work on why she was experiencing this lack. And so the last thing that she ended up with that was she didn't want to limp along in the remainder of her time as a national. And I don't want to limp along in my time, in my life, with whether it's business, personal life, or whatever. I don't want to limp along. And so a couple of things she mentioned was create a life of joy, defer to being grateful, go to God and get real with him. He already knows, so get real. Begin a gratitude journal and write at least 3 things a day. There can be more, but at least 3 things a day for which you're joyful. And then appreciation, how important it is to forgive, and in your appreciation of people for who they are, not trying to make them what you want them to be, because only God can do that. And you and I get frustrated when we try. So an appreciation for others. There were so many more things. This was a great a great meeting for me. I was so thankful for the opportunity to go riding along with the ladies that I shared this car with, with Cleta and Selah and Ann. It was just great, just great. So I encourage you, whatever the next event is, go. And wherever you are, you will be met there. Thank you, Cleta.
I love it. Thank you, Maud. Thank you so much. And hey, what an honor that you actually spoke about something that I said. So, hey, thank you. You know, it's funny when you speak in your own people, they're probably, I always think they're thinking, how many times we got to hear her? We hear her every week. But anyway, thank you, Maud. I appreciate everything you said was very, very good and just really on point. So thank you. Okay, and so I'm going to go and mute you out. And I see the Ann peoples, and you're going to be like fifth after Valerie. Okay, so I'm going to unmute Rosie next. And Rosie went to the Kansas City one. And so I saw some pictures. So I wanted to hear just, you know, a couple of minutes about something that moved you at yours.
Oh, wow. There was so much. It was fantastic. The first day, and I'm not going to go into that, but we were really fortunate as directors. We were able to listen to for 3 hours NSD Emeritus Pat Campbell, and her training was absolutely wonderful. It was a lot about emotions, and it was really, really good, emotional management. And she continued the next day and talked to the consultants as well. And just a couple things that stood out for me. She talked about tapping into divine guidance and the importance of being still and being silent, and the fact that, you know, if you're always talking to someone and you never give them time to respond, you know, what kind of conversation is that? And so she had us close our eyes for 2 minutes, and we were to either just concentrate on our breathing, like the tip of our nose on the inhaling and the exhaling, or very, very slowly recite a passage, scripture passage. And we did that for 2 minutes. And for some people, 2 minutes was a long, long time, you know, and it was just really good. So another thing she talked about is kind of like poverty mentality, or not really poverty mentality, but the fact that sometimes we think we don't deserve, that we're not deserving. And she said, you can't have what you want if you think you don't deserve it. Pay attention to what you're thinking. And she said, God brought you into existence and wants the best for you. And she related that to our children, And she said, you know, how many of you had children? And people raised their hands. How many of you feed your children? So, you know, yes. Do you think they deserve that? Like, what do they do to deserve that? And we're like, well, really nothing. Do you clothe your children? Yes. What do they do to deserve that? Well, really nothing. Did you give your kids Christmas gifts? Do you give them birthday presents? What do they do to deserve that? Well, nothing really. And she compared that to our relationship with God. You know, what did we do to deserve the things he gives us? Well, we really haven't done anything to deserve that, but that parent love, you know, is there, and way stronger than even the love we have for our own children. And another thing we did, and this I think was very powerful. There were, I think, seven or eight people at our table, and you know, sometimes I think we tend to complain about things, you know, like, I can't get any bookings. No, you know, parties aren't going to hold. She had us turn it to more of a positive thing. And we asked, each person got about 2 minutes to ask a question. And after they asked the question, question had to start with, how can I? So for example, somebody said, how can I get more bookings? And so everyone else at the table had to offer suggestions, but they had to start with, what if you? So, you know, how can I get more bookings? What if you did put out a lead box? You know, somebody else might say, what if you did this? What if you did that? And some really, really good ideas flowed from that, I thought. And the last thing well, there are so many things that made an impression on me, but I want to say some for Jana, but the other thing that made a huge impression on me, and I know it did on most of our table, I think they were all consultants except Jana and I. The rest were consultants, and she asked us to tear off a piece of paper and write. It could be a phrase, it could be just one word about each person at our table, and then we were supposed to slip them notes. And of course, it was to be a positive thing. And there were people moved to tears by some of the things that were written. and that, people talked about how they were going to save those notes. And that was very powerful. And I have a meeting tomorrow night with my unit, and we're going to do that because I thought it was super, super powerful. So again, there were so many things. And it was fantastic. It really was. So I'll save something for Jana so she has something to
Okay.
say.
I love that. It sounds really like a great meeting, and I could just tell by the pictures. I know it was. So thank you for sharing that. I love that idea about writing the gratitude and what you feel about somebody else, and
Yeah.
all of that. Really good. So thank you so much, Miss Rosemary. Okay, Jana, we'll let you share for a minute.
Okay, well, you know what? The funny thing is that out of all this whole conference that we had 3 hours training one day from Pat, 3 hours training another day, and all of this amazing stuff, I was going to talk about what she was going to talk about, but
That must have moved you the most, right?
there were some things that were a little bit different. I do want to say real quickly that Katie Harris was the #2 consultant #2 in consultant personal recruiting, and this was a huge conference. And Rosie Kane was #10 personal recruiting director, #10. And there were like 4 prestige directors there, 2 or 3 other trip directors there. This was a heavy hitter. So this is exciting because it's a prelude to career conference, what I can see happening, because these are the people that will go to Topeka Career Conference. And so I'm pretty jacked up about that. And then I was #8, director recruiting. And then our unit, the RISE unit, I want to give a big shout out, #4 in unit recruiting at the whole conference. So I was pretty excited.
Wow. That's
Right.
awesome, Jana.
It was very exciting. And so, okay, so I wanted to tell you real quick that this was all emotional management was about the whole thing. And so it was so powerful. Rosie was talking about the deserve level. I'm just going to like plug in some things that I was thinking along the way. So she talked about the deserve level, and she said that you can't hold 2 opposite thoughts at the same time and manifest anything. And so I'll repeat that. You can't hold 2 opposite thoughts at the same time and manifest anything. So you can't think I'm rich and I'm broke at the same time. You can't think I'm successful and I don't know what I'm doing at the same time. And so she talked a lot about what you're affirming and what you're calling into being as well. Speaking and words. And so she did talk about, I know I'm popping around here. She talked about a rice experiment, and Pat actually did this rice experiment where she filled up 2 bags full of rice from the same container. And then she sealed them up, put them in 2 separate closets that have equal, temperature and things like that. And she spoke to those bags of rice for a month. One she spoke to and told how horrible it was and how terrible it was. The other one she affirmed and said, I love you. You're luscious, white, gold, you're beautiful rice. I just love you. And the rice that she spoke kindly to after a month was pure and white and beautiful. And the rice that she spoke poorly to was moldy and black and gross. And she said, if you don't believe words matter, she said, you do that experiment yourself. And so I thought that was really, really powerful. She also had a quote from Rena Tarbett. I thought this was great about deserve level. And it says, God isn't creating a mansion in heaven for you and expecting you to live in a chicken shack on earth. And so, God does want good things for us. So stop acting like you don't deserve it. That is just so silly. So you need to figure out what you want and you need to go claim it. And the other thing that she did talk about, and I thought it was just really interesting because she talked about quieting our minds. And I've been trying to quiet my mind for years. I have that devotional time in the morning, and I've heard of it different ways, like, but I love the way she put it. She said, okay, so you're having this quiet time and you're saying this scripture really slow, like Rosie was talking about. I can do all things through Christ, and say it as slow as you can. And you're trying to quiet your mind. And she said, then there's monkey thoughts. It's like monkeys swinging from the trees. Oh, here comes the thought. And it's like, whoop, whoop, whoop. And she said, so you've got to get back. Okay. Retrain your brain to get back and listen to what the Lord would have for you. And, you guys, I've been doing this for years. And I thought, maybe I'm spending a little bit too much time in my devotional time. Maybe I'm off the rails. Maybe I'm crazy. But I've been journaling during that time what God puts on my heart. but she confirmed, she's like, what God puts on your heart at that point, he will put people on your heart. He will put ideas on your heart. So please. And I'm like, oh my gosh, yes, I've got a whole journal for, like the last couple of years. God will give you divine assignment and he will lead you to what you're supposed to do. And so, and she said, tell God what you want. And, he will help you make that happen. So anyway, it was just all very, very good. And, we just talked about, I know some of the stuff that you talked about at the $1 Million Reunion. Somebody talked about like the energy level 200 and higher start, the good stuff starts with courage. We went through that whole class. Like she talked to us about everything. So there's so much meat and potatoes there. I just haven't even unpacked it all, but it was a really fabulous time. And it was just a joy to be there with all of the ladies that were able to attend.
That's awesome. And I am so proud of you. And you've got to keep it up, you and Rosie both, so that at Career Conference, I mean, y'all will be up there on that stage in the top 10. I'm so excited for you. It's a big deal. It's a big deal. A big, fat, boss babe deal.
Thank you so much. You know what? We're building a national area that is recruiting and selling minded, and we're here to build this company powerfully.
Yeah, and you're doing it. You're doing it 100%. And so I do want to give a little shout out to your girl, Katie, for finishing her second month of DIQ. Whoop, whoop, whoop. So congratulations to her and to you for building another Offspring sales director. So proud of you guys. Okay, so I'm going to mute you out, Jana, and we're going to go to Valerie, Miss Valerie Ray. She's one of my A-teamers, so loyal to come to everything, each and everything I do for about a year now. So Valerie, you are unmuted.
Hey, Cleta. I'm so thankful that you are my adopted director and you've been teaching me for this past year. But the one thing that, stood out a lot to me was when you were talking, you talked about, if you have a bad week, you need the meetings. And if you've had a good week, the meetings need you. That stood out a lot. Because this past week, I have had a bad week, as you know, and I really needed the meeting Saturday. And it was really awesome. And one thing someone said was, God can't trust you when you got one foot in and one foot out. Mm-hmm. You got to be all in. How's he going to trust you to do if you can't go all the way in? If he can't give you what you need. And then when we're doing appointments, keep it simple, make it easy for other people to do what we do. And that's how they're going to, if we make it hard and ain't organized, then nobody's going to want to do what we do. So, and then, someone gave the scripture, John 1:5, be the shining star in the darkness. And that's what I wanted it to be, is a shining star to people who really need Jesus. This is one way. I've always said I love Mary Kay because we can talk about Jesus. We started the Jumpstart off with praise and worship.
Yeah. And
that's what I love. We're not afraid to pray for one another. We're not afraid to boldly pray for our sisters and, their families and stuff. And then, someone said we need to remove our emotions and remember that this is a business. It's not they're saying no to us. There's reasons. It could be any reason. Like you said, no money could be one of the reasons. No time. You just got to keep praying that, if that's what God wants, that one person, then God's going to open that door. And just got to be listening to him. And then someone said a river can cut through a rock, not because of its power, but because of its persistence.
I like that.
And that really stuck out. And another thing was, do we daily rejoice in this is the day the Lord has made, and do we rejoice in it every day? So that was
okay. I love it. Is that
that's
okay?
it.
Is that good? Okay. Thank you, Valerie. There's so much you could say. I know. I didn't hear about that. I don't know if that was class I wasn't in, or maybe I just didn't write that down. But I love that a river can cut through the rock. because of the persistence. Just think about that, y'all. Think about
Yeah.
that. Water
I
comes
think
from rocks.
I think it was our class that you weren't in. And
Oh, I love that.
it was
Thank you.
that really stood out.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. Okay, well, thank you, Miss Valerie. All right, next, this is Ann Peoples. Ann is a consultant in Sayla Loves Unit who also rode with me up there. And so, Ann, you are unmuted. So if you want to share for a few minutes.
Hey, everybody. What I got out of the Jumpstart this time, it was really an amazing event. I really took in a lot, changed my perspective. I can't even say it. Perspective about what I want to do and where I want to go. So, Cleta, when she was talking about when there's somebody that tells you yes, and when you sit down and you do the interview, and then all of a sudden they change their mind. A lot of times it's because the money, and you need to work with them and see if you can't work a way so they can do it. Also, I really enjoyed the part about the image. Michelle Byers, she talked about we're in the image of business. You need to be business-like, dress. Mary Kay, always when you go out, have your makeup on. Don't go out and look like, you got your hair pulled back, no makeup. Whenever you leave your house, you should be looking 100% anytime you leave your house. Because you might meet somebody that you talk to that would like to either buy Mary Kay or maybe even get into business, and they look at you and you're not dressed and all. They're not going to say, hey, I want to look like her. If you look like $1 million, you would probably have a better chance of getting it. Also, there was Ginger spoke about staying on course for what you have, your goals and all, and sometimes you have to rebalance what you're doing with your family and your business and try to work everything out. So it's very important that you would stay on the course. And the other one was Miss Boyd. She spoke about the joy of your business, the joy of your life, and that was really mind opening. I mean, it just it's something I never thought about. That you get up, you should get up. When you get up with joy. Then your mind's saying, okay, this is what we got to do. Well, if you get up and you're negative, then everything's going to be negative that day. So you should always be positive in everything you do. Mm-hmm. And joy is the byproduct of God. So he gives you joy, and you should use everything that the Lord gives you. You should just take it and go with it. He has a plan for you. You don't have to plan. He has to plan. I mean, you have what you would like to do, but his plan is the main plan that you need to go by. And I think that's about it. Okay. I did have Cheryl. She was saying stay connected. Stay connected with your group, with the meetings, and with your people, your team members that you have. Stay connected with them, encourage them. And she was talking about doing a beauty bag and having a beauty bag at every mirror set that you had set up for that party, you'd have a beauty bag there. And then you would tell them to take that bag, open it up, and if there was anything in that bag they didn't want, take it off. And you used a roll-up bag. And she said that really worked for her to help build her business up and all. And don't count people out. I mean, you shouldn't judge people by the way they look or what you think they might have in their pocket. Always give them a chance and don't just count them out. And I think that's about it. I really enjoyed riding with everybody and having a good time. And I had a very, very blessed, and thank you and Sayla and Miss Maud for having me.
We loved having you, girl. Thank you for coming with us. Okay, and thank you for sharing all that. I will piggyback on what Ann said about the image. Michelle Byers, I'd never heard this before. This is so good. She said, every day you go out, you dress as if you might run into your ex-boyfriend and his new wife. And I thought, okay, because you know what? Like if you've ever run into your ex-boyfriend and his new wife or whatever, you want to look your best, not like, well, she looks like death warmed over. You know, you want them to go, I messed up big time. So I thought that was so good. And one of the things Ann talked about with the brain, they showed a video and it was about stop negative talk. And by Steve Harvey, and it was really good. And it was a YouTube video. I'll try to post it somewhere for you guys, but it said that in the morning, they said there's two foramen in your brain. It showed a brain, and then it had all these cells, and it said there's two foramens. There's one, and there's 1 million people over here on the negative, unhappy side, the negative side. And then there's 1 million people working under the foramen of the positive side. It says in the morning when it showed him this guy getting out of bed going, oh, I hate my alarm clock, you know, and it says, I don't even feel good today. It's going to be a terrible day. And then Steve Harvey goes, hey, the negative foreman comes out and goes, y'all hear that? You don't feel good today. It's going to be a bad day. All right, get to work, everybody. And so all day long, he hates his car, he hates his coworkers, he has a bad day, everything he does, because they're working overtime to just do exactly what he said that morning. He said then the next video showed a girl getting up, and she's like, ooh, it's going to be a great day. She said the sun is shining. And then all of a sudden the foreman of the positive people says, hey, did y'all hear that? She said it's going to be a great day. She's loving life. Let's get to work, everybody. And everybody gets to work to make sure she has a great day. And so it's just something when you hear stuff like that, it makes you think in the morning, like even this morning, because I thought, my first thought was, I want to sleep in. And then I remembered that video and I'm like, why did I say that first thing? And then I'm like, it's going to be a great day. It's going to be a great day. And so, it does make a difference what you think. Okay, before I go on and share just a couple of things, if Rhonda or Linda Roof is on the call, you may have called in, you need to text me because maybe don't have your phone number, or if you're under some name that's not your name on there, it just has the phone. So if y'all are on here, you got my numbers, just text me and then I'll open it up. Okay, but I do want to share a couple of things, and so I'm going to pull up my notes here. And it's so funny, just like Jan and Rosie, you know, some of the same things kind of touch us. And the joy, the thing Dorothy Boyd talked about with the joy, that was really, really, it was really good to all of us. And I love the whole thing about just making this a joyful year and some of the things to do. And, you know, one of the things that she said is that you want to create a joyful environment. And she said, if your house is a mess, you're a mess. She said, you know, clean out your rooms, clean out your closets, clean out your drawers. It's liberating. It's less burden to be weighed down with all that stuff. And she said, the first thing you want to do is joy up your space. And she suggested start with your personal space, which is your vanity where you put your makeup on. she said, you know, that spot where you do your makeup and all your stuff is, clean that up first. Chunk out anything that you don't always use and get it neat and tidy, because that's the first place in the morning that you're there, that you're, you know, getting yourself ready for the day. And if it's a big hot mess, you ever been to a hotel room and there's just not a room for your stuff and it's just like all over the place and you're just like, can't they give me some counter space here? I know recently, I don't know, this past year when I moved here, or this house, I bought this little thing off Amazon, and it's kind of tall, and then it has these drawers and a thing on top, and all of my stuff is there. And so my counter is like clean. It's just so awesome. And I got all my stuff right there, and I got a drawer. Of course, I got my roll-up bag, and it's just nice to have a clean vanity in my bathroom so I can get my makeup on and, you know, not everything everywhere. And every now and then I just usually get, and I mean, I'm the worst at keeping all this old Mary Kay, like eyeshadows from, I still got my tray of the non-chroma fusion. And I was just thinking when I was in that thing, I thought, you should chunk that. You know, you're not going to use it. The new is so much better. And if y'all have ever gone back and tried some of your old after you've been trying the chroma fusion, I'm just like, I can't even believe I used to wear this stuff. It don't even stay on my eyes. So, you know, clean up your space. And the next place you tackle is your Mary Kay space. If it's an office, clean off your desk. You know, get all those papers off your desk. If you have to, just put them in a box and go through them one by one, put them in the trash can or put them away. But when my desk has got a lot of junk on it, I don't like it. I don't even like going in there. But when it's all clean, like usually I have a reason to clean my office once a month. I know that doesn't sound like enough, but like my desk, because I have a director's meeting over here at the house. And I know they always want to come in my office, and I don't want to look like a hot mess. So, you know, I usually clean off everything off my desk, put it away, and have just a little cute something on it in my computer. And it's so nice, at least once a month, to be so nice. And I do try to clean my desk off every night before I go to bed, so that when I get up the next morning, I can come in here and get to work and not just look like somebody, you know, just moved in, you know. But she talked about that. She talked about just even other things to, you know, the unsubscribe button on your phone, on your email, so you don't get so much junk email. She said that, and one of the things, I'll give you a little tip on this. It's called, you just type in on your browser, unroll.me, unroll.me, and it will actually let you register your email, and you can unsubscribe. It'll tell you how many things that you're subscribed to, and it will let you unsubscribe. I unsubscribed to like 200 things with one click. And then it says keep, unsubscribe, or it says roll up, where you're going to see it in one email, just like everything's in one email, okay? Or unsubscribe, or just keep in your inbox. So you just swipe, you know, or you can just click. You can do it on your phone, or you can do it on your thing. It's so great. So then every day I have this one email. It says from unrollme.com, or not even unroll.me. And because like I might want to know when Steinmart's having a sale, but it's only when I'm really fixing to buy something from Steinmart. I don't need to see it every single solitary day, 4 times a day, but I don't want to unsubscribe to that one, you know? So it all just comes in one. So all my little things I like is in one, and every now and then I'll glance at it to see if there's something that I need to know in there. And then otherwise, I just unsubscribe. Anyway, that's just a little non-Mary Kay tip. But she talked about that, and she talked about it's not the responsibility of anybody else to bring us joy. Not your husband, not your kids, not your Mary Kay director, not your parents. It's not their, you know, like if you get married, think I just be happy if I could just get married. You're never going to be happy because you're not a happy person. You know, you've got to be happy on yourself, and don't put that on somebody else. You know, they don't make me happy. They're not supposed to make you happy. They can't no one can make you happy but you know? And so she talked about writing down what brings you joy. And she said, this was really cool. Cheryl, she loves lamps and she loves light, and Cheryl Fulcher. And so we had a director's meeting, and the room they put us in was like no windows. It was basically a gray room with tables, and that's it, and chairs. And she's like, could this room be any more depressing? She goes, I had no idea. There's no happy in this room at all. She goes, I need lamps. She goes, I love lamps. She was talking about how many lamps that she had in her house. She loves light. She loves lamps. And she said, next time, you know, we're going to ask people to bring lamps. And then someone yelled out, BYOL, bring your own lamp. And so she left the room and went and got some balloons and brought them in there. And then the next morning when we had our directors meeting, someone had brought a lamp from home. But she said, what brings you joy? And like if someone comes in and says, you got too many lamps around here, she said, that's what brings you joy, then you need to have those lamps. Tough. That's you. What makes you happy at your house? If it makes you happy to get up in the morning, turn every lamp in your house on, do it. Go get you some LED bulbs if you feel like your power bill is going to go up too high. But whatever the things that bring you joy, you need to have it around you. And if mugs with sayings bring you joy, if things on the wall with whatever it is, and that makes you happy and makes you smile, and celebrate it in everything that you do. And she also she said, what steals your joy? And she talked about creating healthy boundaries as well. And then at the end, she talked about having margins. And I thought this was so wise. And she said, there's two places in your life you need to have margins. And margins is like the white space. And what that means is it's like, she said, you need to have it in time and money. So when you're planning something, anything that you're planning, you want to, like, let's say you think it's probably going to take an hour. You always add 50% more time. So you allow an hour and a half. She said, if I think a trip is going to take 2 hours to get there, I make sure I leave acting like it's going to take 3, And she said, because then if you get there early, well, you got some extra time, you're not stressed. And then if something happens and, traffic's terrible or whatever, well, then you're covered. And it takes the pressure off of you. It's people that when you're trying to go somewhere and you always leave exactly in time to make it, and then you're busting it the whole way. And if one red light is 5 minutes long, you're late. So she said, give yourself some margins in your appointments, in your schedule, so that you have extra time, and that takes away stress off you guys, And it's so true. Don't y'all hate to be rushed? When you're like, oh, I got to get down there and like this happens and that happens and this happens. But if you had allowed 50% more time, then, even like at seminar, if you think, well, it takes us 15 minutes to walk down there, then you're going to leave 30 minutes in case something happens on the way. You want to stop and get a cup of coffee, or you could be sweating and beading up and your hair frizzing because you're sweating before you get there, right? So she talked about time and even appointments, Mary Kay appointments. It's nothing worse for you to set up an appointment with a girl to talk to her about the company and you're late. That is like a big fat X on you. I mean, seriously. And, if you had an emergency, yeah, people understand that. But just to be late because, oh, well, I ran into some traffic. No, you give yourself plenty of time to get there. So I really thought that was good. And the next one was, she said, create a margin with your money. And she said, anything that you are going to purchase, you expect that it's going to cost 50% more than you think it will. And if it's exactly what you thought it will, hey, you got extra money. That brings you joy, right? And if it ends up costing you a little bit more, you're good because you planned for 50% more than you thought. And I thought that was really good. That's just a simple thing. But let's say you're going to a conference and you kind of added up what you thought it was going to be. Maybe you thought it's going to be $200. So you might want to bring $300 because maybe you get there and you didn't bank on having to pay for parking or something else, and you're okay. I've seen too many people go to seminar. I don't know why I'm thinking about seminar, but career conference coming up, and they bring exactly to the dollar of what they budgeted, and they have no wiggle room. And then someone ends up having to loan that person money. You know what? So you have an extra party, put some money aside so that when you go to some different events, you have extra money on the side and you're not stressing out, because stress certainly does not bring you joy, right? And then stress makes you eat, turn it backwards, and that spells desserts, and then you eat, and then you get fat, and now you're stressed over being fat. I'm just saying this to myself. Okay, so anyway, so she talked about that a lot. Okay, and she did talk about a book that I'm going to purchase. It's called 40 Days to a Joy-Filled Life by Tommy Newberry. And I had not heard that book, but someone gave it to her and she said it's just changed her life. So I did want to mention that. And then the other one that I wanted to mention was, and actually Dorothy taught this too. Dorothy is a big C personality. She's very insightful and she's very smart, but she's very deep. She's very deep. But you get so much out of it, you know, like you really have to pay attention, you know. But I just really respect her so much, and she's so wise, you know. So I do want to say three things she talked about. She's talked about taking charge of leading yourself. She was talking to sales directors, and she said you cannot lead your unit if you cannot lead yourself. And the thing about that is, as a consultant, you guys are building teams, and you cannot lead those teams if you can't even lead yourself. I mean, you're going to be a terrible leader, you know. And of course, you want to hook them up with your sales director in case you have not had a lot of experience in leading yet and you're working on your leadership skills. But this is something that could help you. And so I'm going to read you three things, and then we'll just kind of call it a night with this. And she said there's three things that you might just want to write this down, okay, about leadership. And number one, and this was a hard one, she said, you say, it's three statements. I will not lie to myself even when the truth makes me feel bad about myself. And she talked about how she said, you know, some of my directors at times don't like me very much because I tell them the truth. They come to me for advice, and I will tell them exactly why. And they've told me sometimes, I don't like to be around you so much you make me feel bad about myself. And she said, I'm just trying, I love you enough to tell you the truth so that you will get out of the place that you're in, and so you'll grow. And she said, I'm not going to sugarcoat it when you come to me for advice, because that's not going to do you any good, you know? And so it's hard because we do lie to ourselves sometimes, right? And she said, this requires brutal honesty with the woman in the mirror. And she said, fire the liar, our internal voice that tells us the untruth. And then she said, ask yourself, why am I doing this? Really? Why am I doing this? And so, you know, sometimes your internal voice says, you've been working hard. I mean, you've been working hard and nothing's happening. And really, you're saying that to make yourself feel better. But you know, the brutal truth is you hadn't had a party in 4 weeks. I mean, that's the truth, right? And so you just say other things to yourself to make you feel better. You know, or my team's not working, so that's why nothing's happening. Well, the brutal truth is your responsibility for you, not them, right? Anyway, all of y'all know what we say to ourselves sometimes. Now, I know we always say you want to think positive and speak life and all that, but this is just owning up to where you are so that you can move past it. Number two is, she said, a statement is you have to say is, I will prioritize what I value most over what I want right now. She said, like, the ultimate over the immediate. An example of that would be I want to be healthy over eating dessert. You know, and so that's, everybody's thinking about that first of the year, right? And so what I want right now is a piece of my Aunt Martha's fudge. But in the long term, I really would like to lose 20 pounds. So you have to like prioritize what you value the most over what you want right this second. And she talked about shopping sometimes, how you see something and you're like, I want it right now. We've all done that. And we bought stuff that we just wanted right then. And then really in a month, you're like, I don't even really use that thing. I've got something I can't even tell y'all. I spent too much money on it. I don't use it. And I'm like, I just got caught up in it because it was 25% off. And then anyway, Dyson. But let's go ahead. She said, begin with the end in mind. And on that particular point, begin with the end in mind. And this was really good. She said she wanted us to close our eyes and pretend that we're at our own funeral. We're laying in the casket. We did not get cremated. And we look good. You know, and she said, pretend you're in your director's suit. Your makeup looks really nice. A friend came over and did it for you. Your hair looks good. And you're laying there and everybody's coming into your funeral. All right. And she said, your family comes in. She said, then some of your, your sisters, your cousins, maybe then you have some of your Mary Kay director girlfriends. If you're a director, then some of your sister consultants, then some of your friends, some of your neighborhood people, some acquaintances. She said, what do you want each of those groups to say about you? Like you're laying there and they're going, she was so, and they start saying what you were. What do you want them to say about you? And she said, write those things, 9 things down that you want them to say about you when you're dead and gone. And she said, those are the things that you value. Because sometimes you think, I don't know what I value. She said, you think about it. And when you think about, and I'm not trying to like be, depressing here, but what's so weird about this, you guys, so strange. It's the day before I played cards with my mother and my aunt and Brad. And then somehow we got to talking about that. And Martha's was saying, I want, when I'm gone, I want people to say something about me. And I said, well, I'll tell you what I'd say about you. And we all shared. And then I shared what I thought that we all shared what we thought they would say about mother, my mama. And then I said, well, what would y'all say about me? Of course, we're playing cards, we're having a good time. They're like, well, I'd say that you have a lot of energy and that you're very generous. And she was saying some things. I'm like, thank you. I said, what about I'm funny? Don't you think I'm funny? And then, of course, we all laugh. But, it is funny. You think about it, what you hope your legacy will be and what people say about you, and that's what you value, and then that's what you prioritize in your life. I thought that was pretty good. And then the last one was, the third statement was, I will not attempt to lead myself by myself. That your friends and your associates determine the direction and the quality of your life. And you do life with people who embrace the same values as you do. And you want to build a community of people who are moving in the same direction as you're moving in. And the direction is determined by the action of you and your friends. And she said, if you blame others for not following, then you've stopped leading. Because people will follow a strong leader. You don't have to beg people to follow a strong leader. And so she said, what direction are my daily habits taking me? So I just thought all of those tips were so good. Really, I'm glad I'm reading them over to y'all, because she took this off of a, I think it's a video, and or a book, but it's from Andy Stanley, or maybe it was a sermon, Leading Yourself Well. And so I thought it was really valuable, what she was talking about. And I'm going to go over it again for myself and just, really, you have to evaluate where you are. She had this little thing she wanted us to do to really evaluate 2019, like really take some time and evaluate. And I know all of you seen it. And sometimes you get those things and you're like, oh, I do not have the time to do all this self-reflecting. Like some people are really into that, and some, like, I get it, and I'm like, oh, maybe I'll work on that tomorrow night. She said, but if you will take an hour and do that, make yourself reflect over last year, and then make some decisions for 2020. And you will tell a lot about yourself and what you want this year to be. 2020 is a year of plenty, and so I'm excited. It's a new year, and I want to start off on a good note. And, I did a call on the 1st about double credit and what that means. So I'm not going to repeat all that. If for some reason you have not watched that Boss Babe call, go to my YouTube channel and pull it up on January the 1st, and you can watch it. And it's all about the double credit for January and how we can maximize it, because it's a big fat deal. It's a big deal for you and for your unit that you're in right now. And also, don't forget to enroll your customers in the next lookbook. And you have to do it by this preferred customer program by January the 17th. And this will allow you to order early on February the 10th, the new products that are coming out. There's some really cool new products coming out. So we can't tell you about all those yet. But I will tell you that on the 15th of this month, you will be able to order the age-fighting moisturizers in the combination oil and the dry to normal. So if you have some customers that really could not use the new, then you can let them know that that's coming out. Okay, so that's what I got for you guys tonight. Just happy new year to everybody. It's a whole new year for our boss babes. I've seen a lot of growth in a lot of you, and I hope that this is helping you, and I know it's helped me because it gets me on track for the month. For the week. Sometimes I know like sometimes y'all probably go, I don't want to get on that blessed boss babe call, but I have to do them. So what about me, But you know what? It always helps me. It's just kind of like the meeting. You have to go. You got to go on your calls, and it just gets you plugged in for the week. And we have a big week. All the directors are heading down to Orlando, Florida on Saturday for a leadership conference. We're all going to see each other. I'm so excited to see you guys. And we are going to have a next, matter of fact, next week, we will not do a Boss Babe call. So, you know, we will skip a week because we're going to be in Orlando and we're going to be at Universal Studios riding every single ride available to man, FREE free. And Jana, Latrice, and I don't know if Rosie, but Rosie, yes. Okay. So we're all going to be there, Sayla, and we are just going to be riding the rides and eating as much as we can eat. Healthy food, I'm sure, only salads, but but we're going to have a great time. And so y'all, we will be back not next Sunday, but the next Sunday on the Boss Babe Call. So what I would like to challenge you to do is go back and listen to some of the other ones. There's, you know, 2 years of Boss Babe Calls. Go back and listen to them. Just go to YouTube. Listen to them. Some of you are on YouTube and you're watching this right now. So hey, you can do it on YouTube. But go listen to somebody else or read something that night. But start your week off good and then you don't want to miss the next one because we'll be telling all about all the new stuff that we learned in Orlando at Leadership Conference. So anyway, so proud of you guys. We're going to end the call. Let me see if the other girls had messaged. No, they did. Okay, good. So we're good to go. And y'all have a great, great week. Thank y'all for calling in. I'm going to stop the recording. Then I'm going to